is very important that we make informed choices in November. We thank our two candidates from District 4, Barbara Lewis and Trevin Bass, for coming this evening so that we can get to know them better.
The role of a school board member is to work as part of a team that governs the activities of the school district, setting policy and providing resources to improve academic achievement for each student in the district. The school board hires, supervises, and evaluates the superintendent and reports to the community as their elected trustee. Board members also approve the strategic plan and district improvement plans. They monitor for district accountability, adopt the budget, determine the impact on student accountability, decide graduation requirements, advocate for public education, and must adequately prepare and participate in board meetings. The list goes on, and as you can see, the job is extremely important.
For this evening's forum, held by the Louisville Urban League, the Courier-Journal, the League of Women Voters of Louisville, and the Louisville branch of the NAACP, we will use the following format. The candidates will each have 2 minutes for an open statement based on a coin flip that we have not done.
Barbara.
Okay, Barbara. We'll go first. Candidates will then have up to 2 minutes to answer questions. We will leave the last 30 minutes for audience questions. Please use the index cards on your seats to write down your questions, which we will collect and ask for later. At the end, candidates will each have 1 minute for closing comments. Questions? Okay.
Understood.
All right.
Would you please, we'll start with Barbara. Would you introduce yourself? You've got 2 minutes, and then we'll go to Trevin.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Lewis, and I am running for District 4 JCPS School Board. I'd like to first thank the Louisville Courier-Journal Urban League, Louisville League of Women Voters, and the Louisville chapter of the NAACP for hosting this event tonight. And then I also like to thank the moderators and most importantly our community, our parents, our students for being here to join into the discussion. I am a 28-year resident of Louisville, Kentucky, by way of Los Angeles, California, by way of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Grew up in Los Angeles, California. In 1996, I relocated here in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm the mother of 4 children, 4 adult children, Delvin, Joanna, Jeremiah, and Wendell, who all attended JCPS schools at one point in their educational journey, 2 of which, my oldest children, graduated from Western High School and Manual High School and the Youth Performing Arts School. My other 2 sons actually were one of the first classes of the West End Boys School, and they were able to receive academic scholarships to St. Francis High School as well as St. Xavier High School. All of my children have attended higher educations from Lincoln University to WKU, Go Hip Toppers, U of L, University of Louisville, as well as JCTC. As your candidate, voting for me will be voting for someone who stands for our families, our students, as well as for our educators, and someone who is willing to advocate and stand up for a change that needs to take place in JCPS. Thank you for the opportunity.
Wow, Ms. Barbara, thank you. Hey, everybody, my name is Trevin Bass. I'm born and raised in Louisville. I'm actually a JCPS student as well. I went to Seneca High School, class of '09. I am a father of 2 boys. I'm a former PTA president at Schaffner. I was also a vice president of fundraising at Schaffner. From there, I was able to be a legislative assistant for District 3, and my impact within the community is to help everyone thrive, but also bring family back together. My biggest thing is saying that the village is back because the village actually was a part of my upbringing. It was a part of my growth, and it is still a part of me as I'm still in relations with my mentors, which is one thing that I strive to do as a PTA board member is to bring mentorship back into the school system stronger. Let's see, I am a grants contract coordinator, in which I work with the city and where we help out with the youth from making sure that they prevent violence. And the reason why the reason why I'm running for school board is because instead of just talking about the problem, I was raised to be a part of the solution. That being said, I am dedicated. I have over 10 years of community service as well as working with the kids in JCPS as I come back and help out with Man Equality and other organizations. I'm just happy to be here. I do appreciate the opportunity and just the platform itself. I know that moving forward, it just gives me the opportunity to help make changes. Thank you.
Bailey is going to ask the first set of questions this evening, and then I'll come back up for the second set.
Thank you. Sorry. So we'll start with Trevin for the first question, since Barbara took the first introduction.
Yes.
So the first question is, what do you see as the major roles and responsibilities of board members, and how will you keep abreast of those duties?
The major roles I see for the board members is actually to make sure that the district itself is not only intact, but we are going up and beyond. We are striving to be better than what we was the day before. The way that I would make sure is keep my integrity, but making sure that I'm reminded why I'm here, and to remind the board members why they're there as well. The biggest tactic right now, other than the transportation, is making sure our education, we close that gap. So that's one of my biggest things as a board member that I would move forward with.
Thank you. Barbara, same question?
Yes, I feel that the responsibility of all board members of JCPS schools are, first of all, to make sure we're listening and we're hearing the needs of our constituents, which are our parents, our students, and our teachers as well, all stakeholders. In doing so, I think it takes engagement, not just behind the desk or, as we would say back in the day, paper pushers, but to actually come outside of the walls and you get to know the schools in which we're representing. It's very difficult to be able to stand and to respond with a yes or a no as we vote for different issues or improvements in JCPS for our parents, our students, and our communities if we don't know them. So that's one of the major responsibilities of the board. And then secondly, stand abreast on the systems within our district, as well as evidence-based systems and research within districts in other states or in other cities that can help us to advance.
Thank you. The next question, starting with Barbara, is what skills or experiences have prepared you to be an effective school board member, and how do you plan to engage with your constituents?
Well, first of all, I believe that my life experiences has played a significant part in my desire and my perseverance in reaching my educational goals. I started off in Los Angeles, California. As a runaway 13-year-old dropout of the Compton School District, lived on Skid Road, met a couple here from Louisville, Kentucky, who actually met me when I was on Skid Road and taking care of my then younger siblings and my mom. From there, I accomplished my GED here with JCPS and was encouraged to accomplish my GED because I wanted to be a bus driver, the irony of it. And so far, I've accomplished my 4th degree. So that in itself, the perseverance, the determination that I have to seek out my education and to change the dynamics of my family and my generational cycles, that's one thing. And then also I worked as a FRISC coordinator for the last 3 years. I worked as an ECE long-time sub for the last 8 years with behavior and learning students. And I'm a pastor in a community for 26 years. I've been an ordained pastor working closely with our students who are also live in the same communities in which we're reaching.
Same question.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, absolutely. What skills or experiences have prepared you to be an effective school board member, and how do you plan to engage with your constituents?
Well, the experience I have, since I graduated in 2009, I've been a frequent member of coming back as a volunteer mentor with Man Equality under Kumar Rashad's leadership. But from that point, from 2009, I went into Spalding in college, of course, and I was still giving back. Sorry, my sugar's dropping. Sorry.
Take a second if you need it.
Oh, I'm sorry. My sugar's dropping. So sorry about that, y'all. So,
No need to apologize.
okay. That's one thing as well, actually. I'm sorry. My experience as well, but health is really important, and this is kind of tangent, but, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Please. Oh. Oh, shoot. Oh, God. Please, thank you. Oh, my gosh. It's dropping. I feel it. Oh, gosh. I'm feeling it. It's 116. Okay. Sorry. I'm so sorry, you all.
Okay.
Okay. I'm good. I think I'm okay. It keeps dropping. It's scary.
Do you want to take a few minutes?
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take your time.
We're going to take a few minutes for a break.
Oh. Okay, thank you. I don't know why it's dropping so bad. I didn't take no medicine. Oh.
See if I have some.
Hmm. Oh, yes, I'll take one. Thank you. I'm so sorry, y'all.
It's okay.
I think we can take that question from the top for Trevin.
Yes,
So-
sorry about that.
The question again is, what skills or experiences have prepared you to be an effective school board member, and how do you plan to engage with your constituents?
Thank you. I have over 10 years of experience in working with the youth within organizations like Man Equality. I also have organizations outside of outside of JCPS in which I'm helping out, and most of these students are part of the alternative programs. So other than the PTA experience that I have, the legislative assistance experience that I had, in which I was able to bridge between the public and the government, that's all I can say. I'm sorry about that.
Thank you. We'll start with Barbara for the next one, just to give you another second. So our next question is, as a board member, what will be your top 3 priorities?
Well, as a board member, first of all, my top priority would be the transportation crisis, addressing that directly and addressing it more aggressively. I do commend JCPS Transportation Department and the efforts that they have put forth in rectifying the transportation crisis, and which is with the recruiting our TARC drivers, even though that's still in the works. We know, I believe that that's going to be a great resource. But I also would like for JCPS to consider more strongly our community partners, undergirding them, engaging our community partners who are already taking an initiative in creating opportunities for transportation for kids in their community. I give you an example, such as our religious organizations. We have several religious organizations right in the West End in our underserved community who has taken the lead in providing transportation for students of their congregations, students in their community, and then also providing more effective evidence-based recruiting methods for more bus drivers, creating a safe environment, not just for the students, but for the bus drivers as well. So again, I thank JCPS for everything that they've already done and they continue to do. And I believe September the 13th meeting, they had made great strides in rectifying our education, our transportational system. We started off with 500 routes, and we started off with thousands of students who lost transportation, and that number is vastly going down. So again, community collaboration, really undergirding the support within our community, and then also supporting our staff, supporting our drivers on a whole nother scale. So yes.
Thank you. Same question. As a school board member, what will be your top 3 priorities?
Well, my top 3 priorities, other than transport, will be transportation, retention, making sure the teachers and everybody wants to come back, and health. I'll start with health. I just had an experience. I have diabetes, and I believe that if we was able to educate more within the system, that a lot of people can make certain decisions better off for themselves. And then with that being said, you can have a much better lifestyle. The transportation, I will be looking at making sure that not only do we have the bus drivers, but they want to come back. We're making sure that they like their job. My biggest goal for not only teachers and bus drivers, but the staff in general, is to bring it back how it was when I was a child. The teachers and bus drivers and staff love their jobs. To this day, I know a lot of parents who was involved in the school. They speak about them, about the teachers. I actually still have a relationship with many teachers who love their jobs. Even a principal who I was in the neighborhood, grew up in the neighborhood, and it was a village. So that's the main 3 things that I would like to focus on: the transportation, the retention of the teachers, students, and staff, and then the health overall within the students, just to make our lives better, because to be honest, we all live within a means, and within you buying groceries, you don't know that you can end up in an ICU like myself with 965 sugar level because you didn't know the means of how you need to eat and stuff like that. But that's that.
Thank you. We'll start with Trevin again for the next question.
Okay.
If you are elected, you will be part of a board that chooses the next superintendent. What qualities are most important to you in the next superintendent? Will diversity factor into your decision?
Yes, diversity is a big factor. To recently find out about the city and the segregation, I do want to be a part of that solution and in making sure we amend that and make, set that down. So I would like for the superintendent to be open, have great integrity, to be inclusive, to be open to new decisions, also, to not only be a leader, but to be a follower as well. I believe the superintendent who is a part of JCPS needs to have an idea that JCPS is going to be better today than yesterday. Long as that superintendent has that idea and that feeling, then I'll support that superintendent.
Thank you.
Yes,
Barbara, same question.
Yes, if I can go back for 5 seconds, I kind of overspoke my 2 minutes with the 3, my main 3 goals as a board member. The second goal is diversity and equity, and then racial equity, and then of course closing the achievement learning gap with our minority students, and answering and responding to the question of what type of superintendent and what qualities of a next superintendent that I believe that my constituents would like to have from that superintendent. Number one is engagement, the willingness to engage directly with our parents, our students, as well as our educators, because it's hard to lead. How can we lead a JCPS district if we don't understand the needs of our educators, the needs of our students, and the needs of our students, as well as our system as a whole. And so number two, also, how would he engage or she engage in racial equity? So that's a big one. We know that we have a great disparity within JCPS when it comes to our underserved community, our minority, color, and brown students. If we look at the dates, the numbers, we see that it doesn't factor up. So we definitely want a superintendent that will be engaged and be concerned about the racial equity and how we're meeting the needs of those underserved students, as well as every student in JCPS. Something else that I would like to see is definitely the background of our superintendent. What type of professional background does he have, or he or she have, in the educational system? How many years? What type of diversity has he worked in? And I like to see his track record, her track record. What have you brought to the table? What did you do? What changes did you make for the better in the schools? And how did you support the last school and educational system that you led? So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Start with Barbara again for this question. What will your approach to decision-making and conflict resolution as a member of the board be?
Good question. And resolving conflict, and I don't know if you're referencing in the instance of within the school community, or are just in the district as a whole. But overall, addressing the conflict resolution, I think that is very important, that we have all stakeholders involved, not just our board members, not just the district, not just the superintendent, but our educators, our parents, as well as our students. Their voices matters. So addressing conflict and resolution will be able to maybe create a task force, work closely with the board members to create a task force that can actually address them effectively, utilizing the voices of our students, utilizing the voices of our parents as well as our teachers, and then actually utilizing the experiences that many of our teachers and our educators, as well as our parents and our students, have gone through in JCPS, and they haven't had a voice for it. So, I think that, where there's a conflict, the resolution is also there. And I think that our students, our parents, and our educators, they have the answer if we give them the platform, we give them the support to resolve those issues. So, yes, I believe that it can be resolved if we do it together.
Thank you very much. Trevin, same question.
Can you repeat the question, please?
What will be your approach to conflict, or to decision-making and conflict resolution as a member of the board?
Well, one of my approaches actually would be to be creative. You want to bring the person who actually is being disciplined. You want to kind of figure out what is it that they think could make themselves better, with redirecting, also reimagining their outcomes in life. The people who I actually have a group of mentees I'm working with, and what we're working on is trying to figure out how can we make a change in a positive aspect, but at the same time, how can we make it structured? We need to have a structure of it, but we also need to understand that yesterday is not today. So the new ideas we have to be open to. We have to be, I would rather focus on the students. What is it that you think your consequences should be? I was raised and taught on consequences, good and bad consequences. And that being said, I was able to make certain choices. We want to talk about what does it look like for your future. We want to build goals with these children. That's actually what I do with my mentees. We talk about goals, and we also let it be known that not every goal that you set, you're going to reach. So we want to just have a collection and let them know that we are here, and that just because you made a mistake isn't the mistake. And we just want to let them know that you're human. Growing up in JCPS, I had the opportunity to be disciplined in a positive manner. Then they were saying, hey, this is what you did wrong, this is what you could do better. And then I also, with that being said, I was able to grow and be at where I'm at now. So I do believe that if we just communicate with the children of those who are wanting to change, we can make that happen.
Thank you very much. Starting with Trevin again for the next question. JCPS's transportation could be altered again with current board members asking for alternative start times. What would you like to change about the current system?
What I would like to change actually is the culture. I would like for bus drivers and teachers, well, more so we're talking about transportation, but I would like for them to feel welcome. I would like for them to, again, want to be at work. So with that being said, I'm so sorry. My sugar is messing me up right now. I would want the transportation to have a solid ground, have incentives in place, to have retention, even bonus award programs in which they can bring someone on board. Because I do realize working for a Fortune 500 company in the past, the referral programs actually do work, and it makes the workers want to work even harder because they have their friends or family with them. But that's what I would do with the transportation.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Barbara, same question. What would you change about the current transportation system?
Again, I commend JCPS on the efforts and the hard work that they have done to rectify the issue with our transportation. But again, I believe that we need to put stronger support behind certain areas, such as, again, our recruiting methods. I believe that the methods are great, but what kind of incentive can we give to those drivers to ensure that they're safe as well as our students are safe? There should never be a time that a driver has to fear being attacked or approached by a parent, an angry parent, or even fear their students while transporting those students. Secondly, I would like to be able to work closely with the board in rectifying the issue with the change, the time, change of scheduling and change of school starts and ending time. We have to take in consideration one of our greatest stakeholders, and I believe those are our students and their parents. Not only is the change of time affecting the students' ability to get back and forth to school, but it's also affecting employment, jobs, income for that single mother or even for that family who's trying to provide for their family. Thirdly, because of the urgent matter that this is, I would love to see JCPS work intensely on implementing, continuing to implement programs like the TARC partnership. I think that's a great program, and even though it's just off the ground and they're still working out kinks in it, I think overall that the TARC stepping up and taking the lead and taking the mandate to provide transportation for our students is going to be a great outcome. So again, our school board is doing a great job. I'm looking forward to working with our board closely in rectifying the issue with our transportation.
Thank you so much. This is the last question before Dr. Greer comes back up here. We'll start with Barbara again. Mm-hmm. Critics of public schools argue that our schools are failing poor children as seen in reading and math performance. Others say society fails our children because of housing, hunger, and workforce. Where do you fall in this?
Well, I believe that it's a collaborative effect of all components. I don't think one outweighs the other. But when we look at the culture of poverty, we definitely cannot look at our students as being our school district or our schools being isolated incidents with our children and our families, because the same children that makes up the schools, build our schools, are the same ones that live in our community. So yes, I do think that, let me just say this, being able to bring forth a culturally diverse school where all are inclusive, the students from the staff to the students to our faculty to our educator, is not an easy task. I like to call it, it's like putting an elephant in a 8x10 room, you know, and the only way to deal with that elephant is to eat it one bite at a time. You know, so again, I commend. In the last meeting, I haven't been in there personally, but I've been to several other meetings several times with transcripts as well as with watching over and over the meetings. But I in the last meeting, I believe that they have done some efforts in our diversity, in our racial equity department, and I commend JCPS of being one of the districts that has made a commitment to not lay down the fundamental for diversity and equity for our poverty cultural students. So yes, I do think that it is an issue. I think it needs to be addressed, but I don't think that one issue versus the next issue has been a greater disparity than the other. I think all of them together, both poverty versus equity in the school versus our education, it's a domino effect. So when we're dealing with poverty in the community, then certainly those students are going to be in our classrooms. How do we address, how do we meet the needs of the student in the whole family?
Thank you very much. Trevin, same question. Critics say schools are failing poor children, while others say society fails our children. Where do you fall?
I believe it actually starts with the families. With the students, what we forget and what we don't take consideration is when they go home, there's a whole nother environment. So to address this poverty issue, to address any inclusion issue, we have to address the community and address the homes. Most of these kids, they're going home, have nothing to eat. Some of them don't have water. They don't have a lot of things that when they go to school the next day, it is going to make a difference. It is going to determine if he's going to listen. It is going to determine if he's going to pay attention to his teacher or even argue with the teacher. That being said, we need to have more resources that assist the families and assist the families before they get to this poverty issue. We have many families out here who can't even get into these programs because they make too much. That's a problem. If they make too much, then let's figure out what they can do to get their child in there because they're trying. It does take a true village, and we have to act upon that. That's the problem that we're doing. We are ignoring that. We're ignoring that the kids are going home somewhere else. They're not in the school 24/7. We're ignoring that most of these people don't have lights. We're ignoring that most of these people can't even afford groceries, let alone good groceries. Groceries that's going to make their brain do great things. It's going to, most of the time people are eating ramen noodles and stuff, and that's a dinner meal. That's not healthy. I have diabetes now. So we have to really stick with the families and build these families. That's how we're going to really close the gap, because I know when I have a good meal and I fix my kids a good meal, my boys are on honor roll, and my wife makes sure they eat, and they make sure they get good bedtiming. So structure is what we have to bring back to the families in these homes and JCPS. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Dr. Greer?
My shit is coming up now.
Thank you. I'm going to go a little further and ask the question, and I think I'm going to start with Trevin. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to ask my question. First question is, what is your position on Amendment 2?
Shouldn't even be thought of. Amendment 2, to me, would be like trying to start a new problem. We haven't even fixed the first one. We want to open up the gates in which funding will be stripping from what's currently going on now, and then to pretty much have a fantasy that the problems that we have today is going to go away. So I'm voting no against that. I encourage everyone to. I understand that some people do want to send their children to private schools. I understand that charter schools and even with traditional, I understand that. But there's also sacrifices. There's opportunities, that you have to understand that, okay, if I want my kid to go here, I have to sacrifice this. But why should my child, because I want my kid to go here, this child should have to suffer? That's what I'm seeing with House Bill 2. We're taking funding away, and, I think JCPS is only 85% of public schooling. What is that? So if we go to private, what is that doing? That's not helping anything. So for me, I'm against House Bill 2. It takes money away from us. It takes money away from the students. Instead, we need to figure out how we're going to bring more money to the students, bring more resources to the students, and et cetera.
Barbara?
Actually, in the beginning of this race, and I like to be very transparent, I was for Amendment 2. And here's why. I had an understanding based on the background, my own personal background, South Central LA as a girl. I can remember walking past chartered schools, and the dynamics of the chartered schools at that time was based on students who did not fit well into public school system or didn't fit well in the classroom setting, that dealt with issues such as drug addiction, drug dealers, young people who were in gangs. And so these schools did make a difference. Upon doing my research, I have withdrawn my support for Amendment 2, and here's why. I am not for Amendment 2. Number one, 2/3 of JCPS students are of color and minority, and the number continues to rise. If amendment passes, what the false pretense that Amendment 2 gives is to encourage our parents that they get a choice, when really their voice in their choice is actually taken from them and given to a legislator who doesn't understand the dynamics of the household or doesn't understand the dynamics of our minority students. When that funding is taken away from JCPS, we're already underfunded. We're already in a position where, we can't afford some of the very essentials for our students to be advanced in their education. So once that Amendment 2, if that Amendment 2 is passed, what I see happening and taking place is that many of our minority students now who are suffering will even suffer greater. It doesn't leave us with a better school system, but it leaves us with a more broken school system. And it does not promise change for the parent. And what I mean by that is that, a smaller charter school does not guarantee that it's a better school for our students.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Next question, I'll start with Barbara. A Frankfurt task force has formed with the potential of splitting up JCPS, saying that it's too big. Now, Jefferson County has over 96,000 students and over 150 schools. What do you think about splitting up the district and why?
I was for splitting up the district as well. So I like to be transparent at one point, but I believe in doing my research before making a final decision. Yes, JCPS is a huge school. It's a huge district, the biggest district, not just in Kentucky, but within the region, even so. But I don't believe that splitting the district up before giving the district an opportunity to bring accountability and bring the changes that are necessary to improve the district. Splitting the district up, it doesn't change the dynamics of the same issues that we'll have. We'll just have the same issues in two different districts, And so I really am for working with the board members, working with our superintendent in our district in creating accountability, not just from the school, not just in the classroom, not just at the board and district-wise, but also accountability across the board with our parents. So I don't believe that splitting the district up is the answer, because we still have the same issues and again the same problems, but accountability and bringing in new programs that are evidence-based and proved to be efficient for our JCPS students.
Trevin?
Thank you. My idea was to never split JCPS. That's like splitting up a home. That doesn't make sense. I know years ago, we went with the busing situation, so it's like you're going to go backwards. I believe my grandfather was a part of that when he was helping with the busing. I know my mom and them went to different schools, so for me to think that splitting it would make sense, that's not where I come from. Instead of us splitting, we need to be worrying about bringing it more closer together. We need to be figuring out how we're going to make the community centers and the churches and the schools, how they can come together in one. We need to figure out how we can make this 96,000 students feel like they're a part of a family. Breaking up and splitting up JCPS is also splitting up funding. It's also splitting up teachers. Now we're looking at teachers want to go to the east side compared to the west side. it's so much that it's a turmoil within splitting JCPS that's the last thing we should have been thinking about. We need to be thinking about mending and keeping JCPS as strong as possible and letting JCPS be that example for not only the state but for the country. Because if we're continue to say charter schools and private schools is better than public schools, and we know that's not the fact, we need to be the ones to show that. We are the great example of that. So no to splitting JCPS and no to Amendment 2.
Okay, I think we heard that. There has been a lot of conversation about abandoning DEI practices by businesses and universities. In light of your understanding of DEI and equal opportunity, what is your position, and do you believe that all JCPS students have equal opportunity? And we will start with Trevin.
No, the students do not all have equal opportunity. This is only because most of these students don't even have representation. Let's focus on representation. The DEI, as I'm seeing most companies taking it away, they're also letting go those very same people who built the diversity. So I believe if we take DEI away, just like splitting the schools, we're going back to segregation. We're going backwards. We're doing things that people before us died to not do. So DEI needs to stay in JCPS, and no, unfortunately, all students are not granted that opportunity, but I do believe with representation and DEI being implemented continuously in JCPS, that will change, and it actually would be greater than what we've seen in the past.
Barbara.
Dr. Greer, can you repeat the question for me, please?
There has been a lot of conversation about abandoning DEI practices, diversity, equity, and inclusion practices by businesses and universities. In light of your understanding of DEI and equal opportunity, what is your position, and do you believe that all JCPS students have equal opportunities?
I'll start with the latter part of that question. No, I don't believe that all JCPS students have equal opportunity within JCPS, and I believe that one of the reasons is because we lack an effective DEI, diversity and equity inclusion programs. However, I do believe that JCPS is working hard on creating those programs and taking the mantle, as I said earlier. Yes, there are a lot of businesses and even schools that have dropped the mantle, and they are not even addressing the diversity, equity, and inclusion within their school districts and within businesses. And I think that it's imperative that we continue to hold the mantle and do fact-based research on other districts outside of our state, even outside of our region if we have to see what works and what have worked in schools that have some of the similar problems that we have with equity and inclusion. It's very important because not only is the diversity DEI affecting our students, but it also affects the faculty, our staff, and not having that is definitely detrimental to the academic advancement of our students. And here's why. A student who does not feel like they're included, that they don't feel like that they are represented, their voice is not being heard, or they don't see their faces, behind the desk or what have you, is a student that will not understand how much they're capable of when it comes to achieving their academic and their educational goals. So it's very important that we figure out a solution, and I'm looking forward to working with the board, working with the DEI department, diversity and equity department, and helping to create that all-inclusive and diversity for all students and our staff.
Barbara, we'll start with you with the next question. How should we measure learning progress of our students, considering that they start with such varied experiences and skills? How should we measure learning progress of our students?
Well, the measuring of learning process, I think, is definitely addressing the issue of the achievement learning gaps with our minority students. I believe that every student, regardless of background or circumstances, deserves the opportunity to succeed, and that the persistent intergroup achievement and learning gaps are unacceptable. So how to address those? I think that, number one, we need to evaluate the assessment process that JCPS has so long used. And doing so, creating an assessment process that starts at the beginning of every child's educational journey, from education, from elementary school, kindergarten, all the way to the 12th grade. That looks like a beginning process at the beginning of the year that will actually assess where the students' strengths are and where their weaknesses are academically, and then a mid-year assessment that keeps us informed with the students, that we can continue to track that student and to be able to divert the student if needed so, if we see that their grades are dropping. And then, of course, end of the year, and this is every year, end of the year informative assessment and summary concerning that student's academics. So assessing our students not just at each grade level, meaning or at each grade sector, such as high school, middle school, and elementary school, but having a continued assessment process throughout the year that actually targets that student's strengths and not just the student's weaknesses. We will be able to actually undergird that student's strengths, and then, that hopefully that eventually those weaknesses won't affect their ability to achieve.
Trevin?
Can you repeat the question?
How should we measure learning progress of our students, considering that they start with such varied experiences and skills?
Thank you. Sorry. I believe that we should do less assessments and tests and more application. What a lot of these students do, sorry, a quick story. I had a mentee yesterday. We was learning that we had a math tutor come in, and they threw something on the board, and the student was angry. He was really angry. And we was like, why are you angry? And I was like, because he can't do it. Well, once he learned how to do it and we applied it to his real life situation, he's like, well, how I use MX, how can I do that? And we gave it to him. Before the end of the session, that young man taught the class. So from what I've experienced, even myself, whether it's using music to learn something, whether it's me seeing, I'm learning by experience. And many children, many adults, many people, period, we learn through experience. So if I continue to get a test and a test, that's not really measuring anything compared to if you show this person, okay, this is what it is, and they move forward. The biggest thing to me would be application, less test. And as we're doing these applications, we'll be able to see, okay, this is what they don't understand, and then we can maneuver and, make certain adjustments. But if we continue to just stick on tests, the assessment is not going to make any sense because it's biased. Most tests are biased. And again, if I had a bad day today, my test taking is going to be horrible. But if I know how to apply taxes, I'm going to get that 35% off the Kroger's, and I know exactly how much that money is. But if you just tell me do 35% of $4, I'm not going to know it. But $4, I'm going to figure it out. So application is much better than us just continue to do assessments. It gets boring. I don't want to grade the test. I don't want to grade the test. I'd rather, he knows how to do this, good. But that's it.
Barb? How should we measure learning progress of our students, considering that they start with such varied experiences and skills? Did I already ask that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I can answer it again, though, because
That's
2
okay.
minutes is kind of tight. I didn't get through my notes.
So then I'm at Trevin again. What measures in our policies would you recommend to address the mental health and safety of JCPS students?
What policies?
What measures and our policies would you recommend to address the mental health and safety of JCPS students?
Well, I would recommend, one, partnerships with a lot of behavioral health organizations, also with professors like the universities, to have a collaboration in which they are able to create a rubric or create a curriculum that's able to be followed and shared within the district to where we can resolve a lot of the behavior issues or mental health statuses, and just moving forward on that.
Well, we know that the crisis with our mental health within our country has extreme, and it continues to grow. We experience, and I know many of y'all are informed of the student that passed the other day was one of our students as a result of the PRP incident. I think that addressing the mental health, first of all, it needs to not just be highlighted anymore. It needs to be an essential part of our daily curriculum for our students. I believe that implementing a curriculum that is easily integrated into the classroom settings to help assist educators in identifying mental health triggers, not requiring them to become mental health practitioners, but just being able to identify some signs of mental health behaviors of our students would not only help to get that student the needs, the necessity, the right resources that they need in order to help them through their stage of mental health issues, but it would also help to divert the labeling of our students, where we sometimes misconstrue behavior as a bad kid. You understand what I'm saying? So versus a child who's having an incited or even an isolated incident at home. Perhaps mom lost her job. Perhaps dad is sick, and that week is a hard week for that child. So my biggest goal is to work with our board members to create a curriculum that can actually help to strengthen the students within the teachers within the classroom in identifying triggers that may be signs of mental health and getting those students what they need immediately to address that issue.
Okay, thank you. Barbara, I'll start with you. JCPS has an increasing international student population. How would you like to see the district better serve this group?
Yes, I think the district is doing a great job in serving our group. We know that we have an influx of ML students, multilingual students who are constantly increasing our student body within JCPS. I think that providing more resources that really strategically address the dynamics of that culture, the race, the background of the student is very important. Creating programs that are centered towards the diversity and towards the students who are multilingual students. And what that looks like is a program that literally undergirds our students and create a culture within a culture, a sub-community within a community of our schools that actually supports our migrating students. So I think it's very important, and I do believe that JCPS has made some great strides in that, and I look forward to working with JCPS and coming up with even more solutions to undergird and to make our school inclusive for those students.
Well, I believe that we would need more ESL teachers. We need, as you stated, more resources. But recently I was thinking that we also need to try to include the students. I have a few students of my mentoring program in which they're translators for their families. And I had a few friends, well, not friends, but a few youth who said, I would like to do that. And I'm like, well, you learn Spanish in class? Like, no, I don't learn it like that. So I think that community would be great to have an inclusion where they can actually show them exactly what it looks like, what the type of assistance that they can use, because we do have a shortage of ESL teachers, just as teachers in general. But I believe if the community and the city and public schools as a whole take this as an opportunity for us all to learn another language and all be inclusive on that, then we can not only solve that problem, but also solve other problems like the inclusion and diversity.
Well, what you've said brings me to my last question. Mm-hmm. JCPS has a drastic shortage of teachers, particularly in some West Louisville schools. Mm. What plans or policies do you support to reduce the teacher shortage? Biggie.
All right. Me? Well, the biggest thing would be, as I was speaking earlier, the retention. Let's look at how is it to make that worker come back, and not only come back, we want others to follow that worker. So it would start off with the professional developments, allowing the teachers to be able to grow within their profession, and also give them opportunities to move up. Anywhere I work or any place I've worked in the past, if I've seen it was an opportunity for me to grow and not just stay in one spot, I gave a little bit more of my time. I gave a little bit more of my energy. I learned more. I think as far as the schools in the West End, not only do we need to get the teachers there, but we also need to reimagine what it looks like. A lot of times people think about the West End, they think negative. We need to revise that. We need to reimagine that, make that vision look better. We need to speak positive, bring those positive teachers there, and give those teachers something to be happy with. Give them better books, give them materials, even stipends that helps them out. Because a lot of teachers, as I know, are paying out of their own pockets. So we want to show them support and let them know, hey, we are here. And not only are we here, we are going to give you everything we need to give you for you to succeed and the students to succeed. And once I feel like the teachers feel that way, they're going to go above and beyond. I've have mentors. My mentor is a teacher, and he has sacrificed a lot for me. And because of that, I went extremely hard. I did the best I could. I went to a private school. It's awesome. Like, he's my best man. So that type of thing, that's what we need to do. We need to make these teachers feel love and let them know, hey, we got your back.
Addressing our teachers is very essential because they are one of our greatest stakeholders with our educational system. And we know without a doubt that our educators are not doing this because they're looking for a big paycheck, but they do it because they're called. It's like an assignment for them, and they're called to it. They have love and compassion for our students. With that being said, accessing more funding for our increasing our teachers' pay is very essential. But not only that, undergirding every educator in every school, especially those schools that are underserved, such we talk about are the dynamics of the West End school and, our underserved communities. We know that the issues of behavior in the classroom is far outweigh greater in those communities, in these communities, versus in communities such as the East End. So how do we support our teachers? By giving them the support that they need to address behaviors within the classroom. What that looks like is bringing accountability to the table for the parents. I cannot honestly say what that looks like, but I think working with the board, creating programs, creating accountability that not only holds our teachers accountable, but also holds our parents accountable, holds our community accountable. It's impossible for an educator to teach and educate effectively our students when we're dealing with behavior issues in the classroom. So I definitely support our teachers. As your next board, District 4 board member, I would support by advocating for advancement in our increased pay, as well as advancement in the classroom setting with support for behavior.
Okay. I will turn it back over for
Thank you.
audience questions.
Are you both still doing okay?
Yes,
Great.
ma'am.
We have quite a few questions from our audience, including from some of the students here. So I'm going to start with one from several students. I'm going to give their names. Angel, Elijah, Chase, Ariane, Tamia, Aiden, and Aiden. They would all like to know, what time do you think all schools should start and end at the earliest and latest?
That's
That's a good question. It was y'all, wasn't it? It was y'all. Okay. So from, well,
Go ahead. You already said it. Well, hey, if it was left up to me, we wouldn't get to school till 10 o'clock, girl. But nevertheless, nobody wants to stay to 7. So I really believe that, that's something that we definitely need to discuss, and we need to actually figure out what's best for not just the students, but for the parents. So, as of now, I see JCPS struggling with that issue because we have so many different start times. If it was left up to me, I would love to go back to the original start time of JCPS. I think that that system wasn't broken until it was. So if we can restore the transportation issues and crisis within our school, going back to our original start times, I think it was not an issue then, and it shouldn't be an issue going forward. And I think that it also helped to support parents who are working 2 and 3 jobs and trying to get their child back and forth to school. So yes, that would be my response to that, young people.
Thank you very much.
I respond to it. And I would have a similar response. I would like for it to start as it used to start, as far as the 8 o'clock. It was 6:20, 8, and 9. But what I would actually suggest would be for parents to have an alternative time, because I do realize as a parent myself, I might need my kid to go a little bit later because, you know, I can't get up there early. So I think we should just be able to have an open discussion. But overall, it should be the 2-3 time periods that we have, but we should have an alternative time because a lot of parents then were still having problems. So, you know, then within the mayor last year with the proclamation that him, Kumar Rashad, Ja'Cory Arthur, and Philip Baker did, as far as with the JCPS time frame, I think that was really good. But overall, I do think that the old times was good, but we should be able to allow parents, if they had it, to, you know, change that time frame.
Thank you very much. We'll start with you again. This question comes from Raquel. What should happen to bullies at schools who have 3 or more office referrals for bullying?
Well, we need to, first of all, bullying is bad, but there's a reason for a lot of bullies. And we need to address that. So, one, if that person got more than certain amount of referrals, we need to address the home. That's a big thing. We need to figure out what's going on at home, and then we also need to try to get that person resources. We do not need to label that child as bad, because all that's going to happen is they're going to continue to build these prisons off these babies. So when the referrals come in, we need to figure out what type of referral it is. Then we need to go address that, okay? Address it with the parents, have peer mediation. Then we need to also teach that bully how to be a peer. We need to teach that bully how to be somebody in society, because if they was to go into the system, they will one day come out and we're going to expect them to be rehabilitated. So before they become that problem, we need to solve that. So with that being said, they got 3 referrals. They probably do need to get suspended, but it's off of whatever grounds it may take. They may actually just need to have therapy. You know, they may need to actually have a longer lunch. You don't know why this person is bullying. I was bullied because I had loved. I was loved, so I got bullied. So we do not know why this person is bullied. So let's find out why they bully. I hate that they bullied, but I feel like there's an underground issue with that we can address, and everybody could actually have a good day with it.
Thank you. Barbara, same question.
I think that's a great question, and absolutely consequences should be applied to bullies. Did you know that we have a no-bully tolerance here at JCPS? So with that being said, you as the student, I think that you all are capable to coming to an answer in a solution and sitting around a round table, and us as the adults listening to you. What do you think that bully should be? What do you think that the consequences should be for a bully who has 3 referrals, right? Should it be suspension? How does suspension helps? Does the student still come back, and is the student still a bully? Should it be a conference call between the parent and both parents along with the students, so that we can come to a resolve? And I think that Mr. Trevin is absolutely right. There are a lot of times underlining issues that goes on with bully, but if I'm on the other end of the bully, I'm not really interested in his issues. I'm interested in him or she stop bullying me so that I can be safe at school and I can have a desire to come to school on a day-to-day basis without fearing being in fear. So ultimately, there should be some type of consequences for a 3 referral. What that consequence look like, I think that right now we do a lot of suspension suspending, and we want to, kind of pull back on the suspension rate. We want to, try to work out and resolve issues if they are able to be resolved within the school setting amongst the parents, bringing the parents to the table and bringing those students to the table to come up with an effective resolve to end bullying in your schools.
Thank you very much. We'll start with
Great
Barbara
question.
again for the next question. This one comes from the audience and kind of speaks to what you're speaking about with suspensions. Thinking about the recent report about disproportionate behavior responses for Black students, Valley High School in our area was one of the highlighted schools of issue. How will you address issues in JCPS and for students in our specific district schools?
Well, Valley High School is my school. Viking, once a Viking, always a Viking. As an educator, long-term substitute educator for ECE and behavior learning students within JCPS, Air Course was my first school with working with those category of students, and then Valley is my school now. I have come to the understanding, not just from school, but from my own personal experiences and my own personal testimony growing up, that a lot of times suspending that child is not the solution, and there's a lot of underlying elements. So the mental health, we can go back to that. What are the mental health issues with the students? We see the behavior. We know that our students are quickly labeled based on their actions or their reaction. Here's the thing: if a child does not understand how to even acknowledge and be able to recognize their own triggers, then how can they put resources in place to actually dismantle the behavior? Once a student understands their own triggers, their own dynamics of their mental health, and how to address their own issues, then they're able to dismantle those behaviors that happen in school. And I'll leave it at this. I'll give you an example. As the FRITZ director, I hold mental health programs, and I created a program called Think Before You Sink at Valley High School. This is a pop-in opportunity for students who are having behavior issues. It's also an opportunity for teachers to refer those students to Think Before You Sink. Four sessions of Think Before You Sink, dealing with behavior versus being suspended, helps those students to recognize, oh, here's why I go off by third period every day, because I'm not sleeping on Tuesdays, because mom works late, it gives me time to stay up later, and then I have to get up to take care of my siblings. Once they realize that, we put things in place, and we have seen it to be very effective in spite of what others say about Valley. So.
Thank you very much. Trevin, the same question, and this is referencing the recent report from the U.S. Department of Education about disproportionate behavior responses for Black students.
And so the question is, how would I respond to it, or?
Yes. How will you address this issue in JCPS and for students in our specific district schools?
Well, we addressed the elephant in the room, which they stated that Black and brown kids are more disciplined. First, we need to figure out who's disciplining them and what is it they're being disciplined for. Let's be honest. Some of these kids are being targeted. Some of these kids are being picked on. So let's first figure out, just like we would do if it was an officer, what is their background? What is that person who wrote that referral on? What is that relationship with that student and that teacher? Many times I've seen my own peers, it would take my own mentor to go get that person out, and never all of a sudden they have a different behavior. So, we just need to look at their environments. Let's talk about their environments. Let's talk about, who are they dealing with? Who do that teacher even understand them? Do they understand their background? Because again, we all know that, minority students, just as any student, have a lot going on, but minority students are ignored. That's point blank, period. So with that being said, I would like to address and say, who is writing these referrals? What is their background? What is the nature of these issues that's going on? And then from that point, we can then, pinpoint and cipher what is the real problem. Because again, most of these problems isn't really a problem. It's you take that kid out that environment, or maybe that teacher or that person is not equipped to be with that student. We have to be honest with that. It's not always the student, y'all. It's not always them. Sometimes it is the person who just went in there to clock in for a paycheck. Not everybody's there because they want to love them kids. And because of that, we need to filter out those people and bring it back as it was in the past, where those teachers was loving and went from there.
Thank you very much.
Can you repeat that question, please?
Yeah. So thinking about the recent report about disproportionate behavior responses for Black students, Valley High School in our area was one of the highlighted schools for issues. How will you address this issue in JCPS and for students in our specific district schools?
Well, I think that one way that we can address the issue is taking a student-centered approach by being specific in demolishing different barriers that our students may have in their lives, such as food barriers, such as food insecurities, housing instability, and access to health care, and work closely with community organizations to provide wraparound services. I think that JCPS does have a great disparity when it comes to this issue. So in order to really directly bring solutions to the issue, again, we have to know the insides of our students. We have to create those relationships with our parents, our families, that builds trust, that they're willing to come to us. Many students are not even willing to come to their teachers when they are having issues at home because they don't feel that trust. So, I think that, Mr. Trevin did make a point, and that is that, a lot of times, sometimes it's not just the students. So again, I've expressed accountability across the board, and when I say across the board, I mean from the bedroom to the classroom, from the community to the boardroom, from the classroom to the administrator. So bringing accountability across the board, because we all play a part in the success of our students, whether they are minority students or just all of our students. But we also have to take accountability for playing a part in the failure of our students as well. So again, it's important that we address the issues that are within, the underlying issues that are within each student, in order to figure out why we have such a huge disparity in that area when it comes to our underserved and minority students.
Thank you. Trevin, is there anything else you wanted to add? I know we went over that question twice.
No, ma'am. No,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank you. So we'll start with you for the next one. This one is also from someone in the audience do you support banning cell phones in schools similar to Fern Creek High School? Why or why not?
When I was a child, I would have said no, but I do support that. It's kind of like when you go to a Dave Chappelle comedy show and he make you put your phone in that pouch. Guess what you do? You enjoy that show. So when these babies go to school, you put your phone in that pouch. Guess what you're going to do? You're going to enjoy your education. You're going to enjoy the people around you. Because the way the social media is going now, you are pinpointing your location. Then you're putting somebody else in danger no matter what you're doing. We don't know what you're doing. So you're putting yourself in danger. You're putting others in danger. We don't need that. You are, what they say, you go to school to learn. Okay? That's what we need to bring back. You go to school to learn. You ain't in school to have friends. But if you gain a friend, good. It's good. But you're there to learn. And I think that's what's going on right now. People forget why they're even in school. You got people more so wanting to do the sports, but forget you're a student athlete. Let's bring back being a student. So I support the cell phones being not necessarily banned, but because I wouldn't say that was banned, but I believe that they should be covered and confiscated where they cannot be used unless need be, which, I think that's just common.
Thank you. Barbara, same question.
I had this conversation with some students just a couple of days ago, and they looked at me like I was crazy. But I definitely think that social media plays a significant part in the violence that we see within school, the bullying that we witness among our students, and that phone gives them access to that level of distractions, for lack of better words. I think that not banning two options. And I actually had a conversation with a couple of my, people who are kind of advising me in so many ways, and just hearing what they have to say, teachers as well as community leaders, and two options. If you bring your cell phone to school, you are giving JCPS permission to monitor your phone. And what I mean by that is the same way that we see our police departments who have special units and task force who monitor social media to protect our country from terrorist attacks, from threats, from violence. I think that it is something to be discussed with our board members in our community, that if there's some way that we can create where we can actually get in front of social media before having incidents like we had just a couple of days ago at PRP, which included Valley High School losing a student. So that I think that it definitely is necessary. And not only that, of course, that they're able to focus academically, they're able to learn academically, and then it is supporting our educators. It's impossible to fully and effectively educate our students when there's so many barriers that are unnecessary barriers within our classrooms. So yes, I do support no phones in schools, and I also would love to see a task force that would create some type of measures to monitor our cell phones with our students.
Thank you very much. Another question from one of our students that was submitted, and I know we spoke about mental health for students before, but Isabella would like to know, how would you handle teachers with mental health issues?
Well, I think that's very important.
Way to
and
go,
I
Isabella.
I like to, are you talking to me first? Okay.
Yes.
Isabella, absolutely, absolutely. I think that's very important. As a matter of fact, I definitely have to commend the mental health practitioner of our school, Valley High School, Ms. Jennifer Hamilton, who started a Monday meditation day just for teachers. She's created an environment, a safe environment for educators of Valley High School and staff. If they need a place to get away, if they just want to come and sit in quiet, if they need a safe place to talk, that's available for her. So I think it's very important because mental health does not discriminate between our youth or our teachers. It has no barriers as race, cultural, but mental health happens to each and every one of us at some point in our life. So it's definitely something that we need to address with our teachers. Providing those resources would definitely, I think, lift a lot of the weight that our teachers are carrying. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Trevin, same question?
Yes, ma'am. I agree. The teachers do need some support when it comes to mental health. But that actually need to be one of the things that's included in their packages. Like insurance, you should be able to go talk to a therapist. And you should be able to go to a spa, get your nails done. You should be able to do things to make you feel good because the job that you do is not for everybody. So I do believe that the teachers should be able to have a mental health day, even if it's just, just So when I was a PTA president at Schaffner, the Teacher Appreciation Week was the biggest thing for me because that was the only time really, other than me going in there and, fixing stuff, well, only time really that we could really show the teachers that we truly did appreciate them. But then I used to think, it's only a week. Teachers get just a week. So that they need more than that. They need to be able to go get incentives. Let me get 50% off. Mental, sometimes it ain't me just talking to a therapist. Me just feeling like I can get on the talk bus for free because I got a badge. Makes me feel good. So we need to give these teachers things to make them feel good, as well as give them services like therapists, spa days, and even just regular off days. Give them a Kentucky Derby day, just something. Make them feel good, because I know when I feel good, I perform good. Just like if I look good, So, yeah.
Thank you. We'll start with Trevin. We do have a few questions about the budget. So this person asks, why do you consider a budget of $1 billion underfunded, and what steps will you take to ensure, or I guess, do you consider a budget of over $1 billion underfunded, and what steps will you take to ensure financial transparency at all levels?
Well, if it's my bank account, billions, all right, I'll take $1 billion. But billion is underfunded compared to, we have 909, what is it? We have a lot of students. So $1 billion is not enough just to even touch, because we already unfunded. We look at the West End, they probably can use over $2 million, $3 million. So that's already, so I believe we'll probably need about $1 trillion for us to really see some things going. But I think the $1 billion, it is underfunded just because right now we don't have the resources to even say, oh, well, we don't need that. We don't have anything to say we don't need that. So that, and then the second part question, what was it?
What steps will you take to ensure financial transparency?
So with that being said, it's supposed to be public record anyway, but I'm really big in like doing fundraising. And so with the transparency with that, it would be like, hey, this is our goal. This is what we're setting our goal for. And so that way people can see, oh, this is the invoice. This is what we really need. Oh, this is how short we are. Because a lot of times when it comes down to paying bills, like kids, when I was a child, I didn't realize how much a bill really was until I paid the bill. Yeah, so $1 billion is underfunded until you see that invoice and you say, oh, we do need to get more money. So but I would do a lot of fundraising. I would have, of course, our weekly meetings. You'll see the treasury report because it should be public record because it is tax-paying dollars, et cetera. But that's it.
Thank you. Barbara, same question.
Yes, I know $1 billion does sound like a lot. It is, and it is a lot. But we have to take in consideration the influx of inflation that is consistently growing within our community. I can remember being able, and I don't know if anybody else can remember this, being able to go into the store with $2 and come out with change after buying a gallon of milk. So those instances, we constantly see the inflation of the cost of living, and that boils over and rolls over into the inflation in the needs and assessing the needs of the JCPS school system. I think that some of the approaches that JCPS is taking right now are great approaches. I do think that the demographics-based multiplier that JCPS use now is effective, but I believe some of my steps would be to ensure the allocation of those funds. I think that's the issue, not the money. Now, don't get me wrong, we do need money to make the world go round and to make JCPS better, but I think that the allocation of funds can be also a big issue. If we together assess how we're allocating the funds, where are the funds being dispersed, and where's the greatest needs are in our school district, then we can definitely be able to do more with the $1 million budget that we have now as we seek more funding to undergird our school system. So yes, it's a lot of money, but it needs to be, we need to find accountability for it, and we do need to assess the budgets and how we are allocating our funds currently throughout our schools, between our teachers, between our educators as well. Between our teachers and our students as well, sorry.
So the only fundraising that we do in Jefferson County, the way we get money in Jefferson County is through taxes.
4%.
As a part of it, and what comes from the state. So are you for or are you against an increase in tax levels in Jefferson County to help fully fund the district?
Well, education rules the nation. So with that being said, I've learned years ago that it's property tax that also helps out with education. That being said, I am for raising taxes because I know it's going to go to the education. The biggest stretch would be to educate others why it is good for us to raise the taxes. But again, I am for raising the taxes within the means of us getting funded that's going to go towards the school. Now, I ain't say raise the taxes for the highway, but as long as it's going to go to the school, that's my biggest thing, because that's the only way we're getting funded, and that's the only way we have to push.
As a JCPS board candidate, I do believe that any decision to increase the tax rate above the allowable, non-recallable 4% must be approached with careful consideration transparency, and a focus on meeting the needs of our students while promoting equity. Now, we know that the tax increase does not just affect JCPS, but it affects our whole community as a whole. I am for the tax increase, but I do believe that the allocation of those funds need to be assessed. And as we approach it, we need to assess it, and we really do need to consider all the dynamics and those that are affected by the tax increase. But again, the priority and the main goal is to meet the needs of our students. And as a taxpayer, I don't mind the increase as long as I know that my child, that my grandchildren are gaining the education that they deserve. And all children as well.
I think we've got time for one more question. Looks like we've got another one that just came up from Angel, and she would like to know, or Angel would like to know, what special areas should all kids have, such as arts, music, that are often cut in elementary school?
That's a good question.
We'll start with Barbara this time.
I would say all of them. But that is not reasonable. However, I think that those are very important to have those extracurriculum activities. It boosts the morale of the students. It makes you want to come to school because you know that by third period or by 2 o'clock, you get to have painting. You get to learn art. You get to do music. You get to do dancing. So that's an incentive for me, versus just math and studying every day. So I do believe that those programs should not be cut. We're experiencing that at Valley High School, different programs being cut, but we want to make sure that we meet the needs of our students. And some of those needs are the social needs and the things that they enjoy doing, and not just the educational needs. Again, I do support extracurricular activities in our school time, in our schools.
Same question?
Yes, I support as well all extracurricular activities, but my spin would be for it to actually be included also in the classrooms. So my favorite thing is music, and I like art. Well, why can't music be in part in math class as well? Why can't art be a part of that as well? My mentor, he had a song called Y equals MX plus B. Half of those kids didn't even know what they was doing, that they was doing a equation. But he rapped that song. He had a whole, and they knew it. So why can't the music, why can't art, why can't these extracurricular things be placed into these not regular, but the classes that we need? Why is it so hard for us to figure this out? It shouldn't be. It's just like lunchtime. Lunchtime is only 20 minutes. That's just, come on, man. The teachers can't even sit. It's a lot. It's the simple things it should not be. So why can't these extracurriculums activities be a part of the math program, the language arts program? It should be. So we shouldn't be able to take it away. And then with that being said, you are now able to give a teacher an assistant help. So now we have a teacher-student ratio that's much better, and everybody get to bop their head, play some music, get some things, get learning. It's a lot. I just think we should be able to incorporate it all together instead of just keep talking about taking things away. Quit talking about taking things away, and let's talk about how we're going to bring it together and make it last forever. That's what we need to be doing. That's the song too, but that's it.
So let's give our two candidates a hand before we close the evening. Before we close out this evening, I want to thank you all for joining us here at the District 4 Candidate Forum. And we have some special guests in the audience that I want to recognize this evening. Josephine Lane Buckner. Where are you, Josephine? District Judge.
Hello.
There you go, District Judge. Let's thank you for coming out tonight. I also want to recognize Mary Irby Jones. She is the Executive Director of the Courier-Journal and the Midwest Regional Editor. She's here with us tonight.
All right.
This has been very interesting. As an old woman who's been around education for a lot of years, just hearing these young people and their perspectives and what's going on in their brains and trying to keep up my keeping up with where you are, it's been very interesting for me tonight. We want to thank the candidates. We want to thank the Southwest Regional Library for allowing us to come here and to host. Of course, we want to thank our sponsors tonight, the Urban League, the NAACP, and the League of Women Voters who are here supporting. So we want to thank everybody for coming out. We just appreciate the opportunity to sit, to talk, to get a better understanding of who you are, the candidates, and where you are. And we also, the folks that came out to work, my co-monitor person here, that she's been with us tonight and last night as well. So thank you so much for coming out this evening. Have a wonderful evening. Stay safe. And we really appreciate you coming out and listening. But before we go, all of you babies that are sitting out there, all of you young people, if you are a student in Jefferson County Public Schools, you need to stand up tonight. Stand up. So we can recognize you.
JCPS is the best.
Let's recognize JCPS. Okay.
Thank you for coming.
So this is the beginning. This is not nearly the end. So this is the beginning. We appreciate you being here, taking part, and listening. So again, thank you. Have a good night. Take care.